It tricked us, really. All the water, all at once. We couldn't turn away. From the canyons swelling and bursting, from the neighborhoods of houses made into islands, the farm fields turned instant oceans. The water tricked so many of us watching into thinking somehow, when it went away, that some burden was being lifted. No, the burden was revealed. A disaster beyond anything Colorado had ever seen. Hundreds of miles of roads erased, 28,000 homes damaged, 18,000 people displaced, 10 Coloradans lost. $3 billion in damage.
What happens after the camera crews leave? What happens after the hype fades away?
Today, we are setting out to see what's happening in the mountain town cut off from the world.
It's an amazing community. These people rolled up their sleeves and went to work.
To see it floating away, that's life in there.
What's happening for the family we couldn't forget.
But it's just a constant reminder of everything that it took.
What's happening where recovery can't happen fast enough.
We're already starting to lose people that have moved on.
And what's happening beneath the surface.
It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you wake up at night and relive part of it.
What's happening since Colorado's floods a year later. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Clark. The week of rain seemed endless. So what are we to call this now? A year of recovery? We know several more ahead. The temptation is oversimplification. Calling the recovery a success isn't fair to the families who feel forgotten, to the neighborhoods that seem stuck in a blind spot. Calling the recovery a failure obscures the tremendous work done, the great gains made. So let's call it what it is, a work in progress. A highly individualized recovery experience for each of the more than 18,000 families forced from their homes and the tens of thousands more who suffered property damage. They ought to be able to tell their recovery story in their own words, and we ought to listen. If we were to speak to each family for just an hour, we'd be here for 2 years. 15 counties in Colorado received federal disaster declarations. Today, we'll take you to 3 of the hardest hit: Larimer, Boulder, and Weld. Here in Larimer County, we're reminded a 100-year flood is a measure of probability, not a guarantee of immunity. The 1976 Big Thompson flood shoved the Glen Haven Town Hall right off its foundation. 37 years later, Glen Haven was rocked again. It's an unincorporated area with many private roads, meaning that much of the cleanup and much of the cost fell to the locals. Perhaps you heard Glen Haven got wiped off the map.
We have a love-hate relationship with those bells.
You heard wrong.
Well, you get tired of hearing them, but it does mean money coming in the door.
Customers in, cinnamon rolls out.
Well, I need 2 homemade cinnamon rolls.
The Glen Haven General Store stocks a delicious bit of normal that is so valuable these days.
Will that do it for you?
Yes, it will. I am glad to see you guys.
$6 even.
Everyone seems to be here for one thing.
Well, they're good. That's all I can say.
Occasionally, someone orders something else,
Ice.
then remembers.
And a cinnamon roll.
The cash register beeping, the bags filling.
This place gets nuts.
Can't disguise the fact that Glen Haven is hurting.
$14.70.
And the general store is one of the few businesses to reopen.
We heard about the flood and we saw the videos, and it's just devastating. Absolutely. But what they've done in less than a year is highly commendable.
Steve Childs would love a little competition.
We'd certainly like to see as many businesses return as we could. As of now, none of them will be allowed to rebuild.
Allowed?
Yep. The floodplain designation prohibits anybody from rebuilding.
But you did.
We didn't rebuild, we repaired. The rule was if you were 50% damaged or more, or if you were destroyed, you can't rebuild. We were 48%.
Steve talks with an air of unwanted expertise.
1643. The crayon got done early and the work started early, and as you can see, these orange trucks going by, The work continues today. It's a 7-day-a-week effort.
A year later, road repair is not complete. So much rebuilding hasn't even begun. Yet there is a new foundation.
What was a tight-knit community is now just sort of cemented together. I don't think you could, I don't know what you'd have to do to tear this community apart. I don't think it could ever happen.
Glen Haven just dug in and dug out.
An event like this brings out the worst and the best in people. There was very little of the worst and a whole lot of the best. And we still see it today.
You see it.
I'm glad you came to check on us. That's good of you.
And you hear it.
Thank you.
Yep, see you later.
In Glen Haven.
It's not an experience I want to repeat, but I wouldn't have traded it for the world.
Downriver, past the mouth of the Big Thompson Canyon, is a spot that we only came to know of because of the flood. The owners call this place the Sanctuary. My colleague Nick McGurk just happened to be here with a camera when it all went to hell.
Oh my God, Terry, the chicken coop.
It teetered and went, a coop full of chickens.
To see it floating away, that's life in there.
It looked like another part of this sanctuary was about to disappear.
Abby, it's worse than it's ever been, honey. It's taken over everything. That's why Grandpa wanted you to come out. We still are stopped by complete strangers. Hey, aren't you the ones that had the chicken coop in the flood? Yeah.
That's the easy question. The next one is harder. How are you doing?
Quite honestly, I thought that after a year we would have come much further.
Family, friends, and volunteers did all they could.
It actually looked better underwater, to be honest.
Terry Brummagem has few kind words for the government agencies involved.
A year later, yeah, we're still waiting to have help to restore the basement so that the family members can move back in.
And they are tentatively reestablishing their relationship with the river.
Yeah, it's a constant reminder, that you look at it and you want to look at it and have it be a peaceful thing, but it's just a constant reminder of everything that it took.
They will not leave here.
Sanctuary is just a peaceful place to be able to go and enjoy God's creation and just be at peace.
Her faith is strong, but it's difficult to have a grateful heart.
This used to be all flat and green.
When you have tired hands and aching back and eyes to see all the work ahead.
But when it's just continuing on, it's frustrating.
Yet in this place of faith, there is hope.
It's been a very slow process, but patience is a virtue.
When we return,
We've lived really well in Lyons, and I hope we can remain a part of that community.
a trip to Boulder County, where the flood recovery threatens to change what makes one town such a special place to play. But first, picture proof of progress through the lens of our partners at the Fort Collins Coloradan. In Boulder County, Lyons sat silent and vacant for a month and a half. There is still a stillness here on Park Street, with many families waiting on a buyout for properties where they cannot live and cannot rebuild. But 9 News reporter Chris Vanderveen didn't have to go far to find Bluegrass, providing a much-needed soundtrack for a story of recovery without an ending.
It's community. There's real community here.
In a town that experienced the meteorological equivalent of a massive earthquake, many consider this place the epicenter.
Good morning, Rocky Grass!
Planet Bluegrass.
Huge for the town. Huge for the town.
No assigned seating. Sit wherever your legs will take you.
It is my honor to welcome you all back home.
Home.
I think the town of Lyons is ready to just start having fun.
Greg Ferguson.
And so that, I think maybe in some ways this can be a kickoff for that.
Calls this place home.
Please make welcome the Rail Splitters!
Of course, he knows not that long ago, one of his neighbors decided to break in.
And this is Planet Bluegrass.
Within 48 hours,
Totally, completely.
a year's worth of rain
Underwater.
fell on parts of Boulder County. Sitting at the confluence of two normally tame creeks, Lyons faced an historic inundation.
It's gone. It's underwater. Everything is gone.
And evacuation of its 2,000 residents.
There's no electricity, there's no wastewater, there's no telephones.
A lack of effective infrastructure effectively silenced the town for 6 weeks.
I lost everything, and that's just the way it is.
The flood destroyed or damaged 1/5 of all homes in Lyons and washed away both mobile home parks, including the Riverbend Mobile Home Park.
We left with 2 children, a dog, a cat, my wife and I in one of our cars.
Danny Schaefer.
And we never moved back.
Called the Riverbend home.
I really, really, really miss Riverbend. I really miss being there. It was a very, very special place.
My name's Danny Schaefer. Nice to be playing tonight.
It's almost cliche to add the adjective struggling to the word musician. Yet Schaefer knows his struggle could put many who sing the blues to shame.
Well, your nose is itching in the wind.
Last year has been a number of challenges and hurdles, and our rent is double from what it was. And housing is very scarce in Lyons.
Scarce, as in virtually non-existent for those who survive not just day to day.
Oh, and all you need is a little time alone.
But gig to gig.
Make some coffee and unplug the phone.
It's been extremely frustrating. We're already starting to lose people that have moved on.
Consider this a tale of two towns. The business district fought back, it feels vibrant again, but if some parts of town now know the best of times, others remain mired in the worst. Just a few blocks away from the main highway, appearances can be revealing. "45 homeowners have considered a federally funded buyout. If all are accepted, 45 lots will turn into open space. No homes allowed."
These are actually pretty comfy steps.
Joe Meckel,
The house raising guys are amazing.
has decided to stay put, although in order to do so, the town required him to raise his yet-to-be-finished home well above the 100-year flood stage. It'll be about 5 feet higher than before.
First couple times is kind of weird though, isn't it? To walk around here.
He hopes to reopen his in-home business next month.
You know, we've seen him from really bad days to really good days.
And knows volunteers have helped a slow permitting process.
They want it done right, and I think it's a learning curve for everybody.
But this was worse than anybody had ever imagined that could happen to our town.
Jackie Watson likely speaks for everybody when she says the town has a problem.
Yeah, our affordable housing stock had been located historically along our river. And when the flood came, it destroyed 2 mobile home parks and blocks of what's called Old Town.
In Lyons, the closer you were to the water, the more affordable your home was. Town data suggests those who lost homes tended to earn half of those who did not.
Sometimes we're all working at a very short fuse, and it is eating at us all.
Schaefer won't be heading back to Riverbend.
This was Riverbend Mobile Home Park. When the flood came, it washed away the road and created basically 2 river channels side by side.
Owner Mike Whipp had no other choice but to reinvent his land. Being this close to the water, the mobile home park had to go. In its place, Whipp turned the land into a spot for weddings. He worries about his former tenants.
Those that really want to be back, I hope that they all make it back.
A town once nearing 2,100 residents has now dipped to 1,800.
We don't really know what's going to happen next, and there's a lot of people that are still waiting to come home.
We'll split the solos. I think it'll become apparent.
Yet, if it was indeed the equivalent of an earthquake that rattled Lyons, at least the aftershocks have been rhythmic in nature. On Tuesday nights at Oscar Blues, newcomers sit next to old-timers in one of the largest and longest-running weekly jam sessions in the country.
Music will always be an important part of Lyons.
Thankfully, much like the water, the silence receded as well.
We embrace that, and that is what we consider our small town charm, are our people.
Maybe in the end, it'll be enough to provide a much-needed chorus to a song about a town still struggling to find a common voice.
Sing it every day I'm gone.
There's a lot of things at stake here. We're still hopeful. We're hopeful, aggravated, tired, and still hanging in there.
Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.
Those who know Lyons well say that the property values here, like so many places around Colorado, were rising before the flooding, and the hope is that'll accelerate the rebuilding process. That's welcome news for current homeowners. It's not good for those forced into renting. Still ahead, after all this time, there are still people who haven't been connected with the help that is out there.
There's a need, and I don't want people to lose sight of that. We are approaching that 1-year anniversary, but that doesn't mean that people have returned to their new normal.
We go to Weld County, where the damage doesn't always fit neatly into a photo frame, and they are still finding people who have fallen out of focus. Weld County is cursed in a way by one of its blessings. Its energy boom is soaking up all the available short-term housing, and it's increasing the cost of single-family units. It means that people who have been displaced from affordable housing, like the still-closed Eastwood Village Mobile Home Park in Evans, aren't easily able to find permanent places to live for what they used to pay. And even for people who've been able to return home in Weld County, they're battling the public perception over the extent of the damage here. Drive the roads of Weld County, past the Placid Platte, and you won't always see it.
You can't capture in one drive or in one picture the amount of damage that Weld County sustained.
The river's low, the corn's high, but stop a while and listen, and you'll hear the recovery is still happening.
It just started flowing and it just got deeper and deeper real fast.
This is what it looked like to Kurt and Patty Elliott. This is what it looked like to us. They couldn't have cared less about their flooded house.
And everybody thinks about their animals first, and, you know, the belongings and stuff, that's just stuff.
He watched his favorite horse stumble and slip beneath the surface.
I seen him fall in the ditch out there, and he kind of rolled over, and I thought, oh, there goes my good horse. You know, I've had him for 20-some years. But he got up and he came to me. I got on him.
No saddle, no road to be seen, yet they made it to high ground. And when they returned home,
it looked like a bomb went off here.
East of Greeley at the Broken Spoke Ranch, the rerouted river built new sandbars and dug deep new trenches hidden under the muck.
I fell in just about every one of them.
The water and their bank account drained out one right after the other.
But it cleaned us out.
But yet a year later, you will hear Kurt and Patty say,
We're pretty fortunate. Very fortunate.
For starters, their house is still fit to be a home.
Everybody's having to rebuild their houses. The guy across the street, he hasn't lived in his house yet, I don't think. They had to take out all the interior and replace the drywall and electrical work.
But the Elliots didn't scramble to save anything from their house or their garage. Their retirement dream has always been about horsepower.
That's what this is all about here. It's about our animals.
They saved every horse, all of theirs, all the ones that they board here.
So we clean every day. Every day.
You truly get a sense for the work ethic that runs deep for them, even in retirement, when you hear that Kurt feels the need to almost apologize for no longer working day in and day out on the flood recovery.
We've worked constantly trying to... I shouldn't even say that, because now we're at the point where we take the time to go do other things, but the first 3 or 4 months, it was all day, every day. All day, every day, with all the help we could get.
The help came just like the water, seemingly from everywhere and all at once.
Right after we started getting cards with a $20 check here, you know, I don't know how many we got. We've never done that before.
and the need has not diminished.
Kelly Johnson's community group Weld Recovers is providing the essentials of starting over to the Elliots and hundreds of others along roads where tourists rarely travel, and seeing the damage is difficult.
We want people to see that Weld County sustained just as much, if not more, damage than the other counties. But it's not a pity party for us. We're still working hard, and we want other people to be a part of that.
Almost daily, they find someone new who never knew local help was available. Like the guy working on the repair project funded by Weld Recovers.
Sheets, couches, and chairs.
He lost his house. Federal money got him a new place, nothing to put in it.
Stuff, this stuff is brand new. Okay. Brand freaking new, Jose, and it's nice. We have a lot of it. Yeah. They gave us a lot of things.
That'll help. But on the back roads of Weld County, stop a while and listen. And you'll hear recovery is not complete.
It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you wake up at night and relive part of it. But other than that, we're pretty good. We're pretty stout.
And we know we're lucky. We know we're lucky.
In Weld County and in Larimer and Boulder counties, the need is still there and help is still available. Here's how to give and get help. All of the water eventually found its way here to the Platte, making this a fitting place for us to say goodbye today. The floods changed this river in temporary and in lasting ways, just like so many Coloradans. And like them, it continues to push on to make its way. For all of us here at 9 News, I'm Kyle Clark. Thanks for joining us.